Alan Moore, creator of Watchmen, is going scorched earth. He is sick and tired of the woke nonsense that is continuing to infiltrate our country, and he is here to completely obliterate that. Watchmen creator Alan Moore is definitely done with comics, decries unbearable industry. And this is the way that more and more people are starting to feel about the direction that art and entertainment is going in America today. It is all becoming completely hijacked by the woke nonsense that we are seeing continuing to grow in our country. And because of that, creativity is dying. And what he says here is completely spot on accurate about that. That kind of infantilization, that urge towards simpler times, simpler realities, that can very often be a precursor to fascism. I couldn't have said it better myself. In the interview, Moore voiced concern that hundreds of thousands of adults are lining up to see characters and situations that have been created to entertain the 12-year-old boys, and it was always boys of 50 years ago. I said around about 2011 that I thought that it had serious and worrying implications for the future of millions of adults were queuing up to see Batman movies, because that kind of infantilization, that urge towards simpler times, simpler realities, that can very often be a precursor to fascism. Now, while I don't totally agree with what he is saying here in regards to, this is like comic book movies are bad for adults and all that type of stuff, I do see the point that he's making. I do. I see where he's trying to get at here. And the root problem is, of course, something that we all need to continue to see and address. The problem is that people want to go in, turn off their brains, not have to think about anything. And it is starting to go outside of even the movie theater when it comes to that type of reaction to what is happening in our society today. I don't really think that superheroes were adult fare, Moore explained. I think that this was a misunderstanding born of what happened in the 1980s, to which I must put my hand up to a considerable share of the blame, though it was not intentional when things like Watchmen were first appearing. And then, speaking of Watchmen, he decided that he was going to go completely on a rampage against Damon Lindelof's Watchmen miniseries for HBO. It's embarrassing to me, he says here. Moore went into detail in an interview with GQ magazine about a letter he received from the miniseries showrunner Damon Lindelof.
"Dear Mr. Moore, I am one of the bastards currently destroying Watchmen,"
it opened. That wasn't the best opener, Moore said. I went on through a lot of what seemed to me to be neurotic rambling. The writer went on to admit his response might have been hostile, but it was emphatic that he didn't want to be contacted. I got back with a very abrupt and probably hostile reply telling him that I thought that Warner Brothers was aware that they, nor any of their employees, shouldn't contact me again for any reason. He would reiterate his request while also calling the show embarrassing. I explained that I had disowned the work in question, and partly that was because the film industry and the comic industry seemed to have created things that had nothing to do with my work, but which would be associated with it in the public mind. I said, "Look, this is embarrassing to me," Moore would continue. "I don't want anything to do with you or your show. Please don't bother me again." Holy crap. I absolutely love this response. Lindelof's Watchmen went on to be a hit with critics and at the Emmys, where the star Regina King won big, but Moore didn't see the appeal. When I saw the television industry awards that the Watchmen television show had apparently won, I thought, oh god, perhaps a large part of the public, this is what they think Watchmen was, he pondered. They think that it was a dark, gritty, dystopian superhero franchise that was something to do with white supremacism, which of course is so insane and ridiculous. Watchmen was nearly 40 years old and was relatively simple in comparison with a lot of my later work. What are the chances that they broadly understood anything since? This tends to make me feel less than fond of those works. They mean a bit less in my heart. And of course, this is what we're seeing with a lot of entertainment and things, where they're taking these stories that have already been established, even things like from Tolkien and everything else, and then they continue to inject their own modern interpretations, their own woke ideology into it. And that's what we're seeing time and time again, which is why so many of these properties that are now being created that are based on popular properties are doing very poorly and are not being well received by audiences, because that is not what they want. Lord of the Rings fans don't want to be lectured by Amazon or have their own worldviews push into those things. That is not what we are looking for. By the way, go check out EpicVerse. We just dropped the first teaser for it over on the EpicVerse YouTube channel, and I think there's a link in the description as well. You can go check that out, and let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.